our allies should be tied to this mangled immigration process is absolutely insane. I mean, when you look at somebody like Greg Abbott, my governor, and his solution is to basically say, hey, we're going to kill people that are trying to come in. Like, that's not a solution. Like, the Republicans don't have the solutions. They want to continue to defund the aid that is going, not the aid, but they're continuing to defund border security. Well, I mean, who's going to sign up for this job and you're not paying?
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a story that is a perfect example of how dumbed down our politics has become. And part of the reason why is because the media wants to make sure that our politics are as dumb as possible. And what we got to talk about here today is the mainstream liberal media pearl clutching over Trump's comments about illegal immigration at a recent rally, in which he said some things that they didn't like about illegal immigrants and the potential effects that it could have on the country. And instead of actually talking about the substance of the conversation, the mainstream liberal media does exactly what the mainstream liberal media always does, which is never address the actual policy / concern that Trump is addressing. But they take one thing that he says out of the whole speech, and then they want to blow it up into this big thing that they have to have these think pieces and these conversations about. This time they're saying that, well, Trump is saying fascist, racist, white supremacist dog whistles for what he said in a recent speech about illegal immigration. Take a look.
All right. In the meantime, former President Donald Trump is again making some very incendiary comments about immigrants, talking about immigrants poisoning the blood of this country. He used that kind of rhetoric earlier today in New Hampshire. Why it sounds like an appeal to white supremacists, because in many cases it is an appeal to white supremacists. That's next. And the Republican sex scandal. Another Trump rally, more attacks from former President Donald Trump on immigrants. Here he was earlier today in New Hampshire.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country.
Let me start with you. You've studied fascist rhetoric, autocrats, authoritarian leaders. You and I have talked about this subject many times. What was your reaction when you heard what Trump had to say earlier today?
This is fascist rhetoric. The worries about polluting the blood of the superior race go as a standard of Nazism. It's not just the Nazis, it's also fascists in Italy. Mussolini literally talked about killing rats, to go back to Trump's use of vermin in an earlier speech. He talked about killing rats who were bringing infectious diseases and communism into Italy. So, this is fascist rhetoric, and he's using it for a very precise purpose. But we also want to, ask why he's using it now so often. And unfortunately, the Trump campaign's made it very clear what they want to do to immigrants, mass deportations, mass detentions, likely abuses and violence in those operations. And, dehumanizing immigrants, which is what this language does, is a way to get Americans prepared now to accept these repressions later on. That's what's so terrible, and that's also another thing that's so fascist about this.
Words of the leading Republican presidential candidate, your response?
He's disgusting. And what he's doing is dog whistling to Americans who feel absolutely under stress and strain from the economy and from the conflicts around the world. And he's dog whistling it to blame it on people from areas that don't look like us. And look, Jake, the other problem with this is the Republicans who are saying this is okay. Almost 100 members of Congress who've endorsed him. Nikki Haley, who this week said he is fit to be president. You're telling me that someone who says that immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country, someone who says Vladimir Putin is a character witness, is fit to be president of the United States, was the right president at the right time? Nikki Haley should be ashamed of herself. And she's part of the problem because she's enabling him. She's enabling him by saying to people, it's okay. let me be really clear. I'm in this race to let people know it's not okay. It's not okay for an American president to be saying these things. And she should be ashamed of herself. These members of Congress who just sit there and compliantly nod their head like a dog in the back of a car, just nodding away when he says all these things, because all they care about is their own political future and their own primary.
Yeah, so you see now you heard that. I think one of the most fascinating things that we're seeing in politics is Christie judge anybody's fitness to be president of the United States, because I don't think that guy is fit to do anything, any job, okay? He's not fit at all, right? So whether he's talking about Trump or Nikki Haley's fitness, I know one thing for certain, right? He ain't fit to do any job in this country, okay? I'm so serious, right? Christie needs to stop talking about fitness. That's not his wheelhouse, right? That's not his specialty, okay? He needs to just stick to Golden Corral and things that he's actually an expert at, okay? I'm just saying. Now, again, what is the overall subject that Trump is talking about, right? Trump is talking about illegal immigration and Biden's open border policies. But instead of focusing on the big picture, the problem that Trump is pointing out with the fact that, again, we have illegal immigrants flooding the country from all over the world, which is what he's pointing out. And, you know, that has consequences that, again, the media should discuss. We should be talking about, no. Instead, they want to cry fascism, bigotry, it's a dog whistle, white supremacy. Again, where were all this pearl clutching when Hillary called Trump supporters baskets of deplorables, okay? Or when you have Democrats classifying Trump supporters as potential domestic terrorists, right? So, again, I want you guys to understand how the mainstream liberal media work. If you say mean things about illegal immigrants, that's dog whistling, that's white supremacy, right? That's inappropriate. You shouldn't do that, okay, according to the mainstream liberal media. But if you say inappropriate things about your own fellow Americans, like, for example, calling them a basket of deplorables or saying that they're domestic terrorists or whatever, right? Oh, well, that's totally fine. That's totally okay, right? They deserve that, okay? That's exactly what they are according to the media, okay? You won't get that type of pearl clutching. But I want you guys to understand the overall point, okay? Because what they're doing, regardless of what Trump says, okay, they believe that just talking about the border in general and calling for deportations, closing the border, actually fixing our illegal immigration system in a way that actually makes sense, okay, not just allowing more people to come in because of amnesty, right, claims. They believe that anything that goes against the left and their agenda is racist and bigoted when it comes to the border, okay? And the way that you know that is because Republicans and Democrats right now are negotiating on a deal to increase security at the border in exchange for funding Ukraine. And of course, Democrats are coming out here and boohoo, whining, and crying racism, claiming that the Republican proposal is racist. Take a look.
I want to speak quickly to the Democrats in the Senate and others who are considering supporting this proposal. If you do so, you will be surrendering to right-wing racism. And more than that, you will be enabling it.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that, right? Extremely compelling argument right there from the left, okay? Look, if you're a Democrat and you decide to go along with what Republicans want to do with the border, you're surrendering to right-wing racism, right? You're racist, okay? Again, this is all they have, right? They don't have substantive conversation. They don't have debate, right? They don't have any of this stuff. They just have accusations of hate and bigotry, right? Meanwhile, again, you have the Democrats and the liberals in some of these liberal cities like Chicago and New York that are boohoo and whining and crying about illegal immigration the most, okay? And Biden has not been responding to these calls for help to deal with the illegal immigration crisis, particularly in these liberal cities, and from Democrat governors like Katie Hobbs, who's now joined in regards to the calls for help from the Biden administration and criticizing Joe Biden for not doing enough to secure the border. One of the reasons why Biden's not responding is, like I told you guys, is because he knows that if he actually addresses the problem, okay, whether it is going along with the right or the left, it's a lose-lose situation, right? And this is why he doesn't want to actually talk about the illegal immigration crisis or the border, because no matter what, he loses. And this is something Democrats know, because if Biden actually tries to secure the border, if he actually goes along with the conservative piece of legislation, which is what we need, a conservative solution, if he goes along with that, then he's going to lose even more of the progressives that have already abandoned him over his Israel-Palestine stance. Take a look.
How much backlash will he get from the left if he does agree to these changes?
There's going to be a lot. We have to put together a coalition that is the same coalition we delivered in 2020 for him to win the White House, for us to win the Senate, and for us to take back the House. Mm-hmm. And that coalition involves a lot of young voters. It involves a lot of immigrant voters. It involves a lot of folks of color.
Yeah, so you see now you're hearing that, okay? Pramila Jayapal, who is a progressive, okay, she's a far-left Democrat, just said the quiet part out loud, that if you're a Republican or you're conservative, you get called racist for acknowledging, which is the Democrat strategy. She just literally just said, if we go along with the GOP, if we go along with Republicans, okay, AKA, if we actually attempt to secure the border, okay, if we don't leave the border wide open, then progressives are going to abandon us. Right? We have a bunch of, immigrants and so-called people of color and all these people that vote for us. We need them in 2024, right? We need them, okay? And having open borders is a fundamental part of our strategy in order to win. Which, again, if you say that as a Republican or a conservative, apparently that's racism. That's a dog whistle to the white supremacists. Now, when a progressive who happens to be not white comes out and says, oh, well, that's just politics. Okay. This is just social justice. And she just cares about brown people and yada, 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 yada. Right. Again, it's just amazing. Democrats will say out loud exactly what their intentions are. She literally just said, yeah, we will open borders so that so-called people of color and immigrants can vote for us. Right. This is what she's saying. Okay. So she's basically saying, screw the laws of the country, right? Screw actually having an orderly immigration system that doesn't just allow people from any and everywhere to come into the border. We don't know who they are. We don't have any idea what their intentions are. We have no clue about their background. Screw all that. We need to win, right? So therefore, we should leave the border open and don't do anything about the problem. Again, this is the modern day Democrats. This is their thinking. They will do anything for a vote, okay? Straight up, right? They sell out the country for a vote. But here's the thing. I don't think that in 2024, if Biden closes the border, for example, I don't think that is actually going to hurt him, right? Because I think that Biden's actually going to get hurt more from allowing the border to remain open, for not doing anything, for not working with the GOP, in which, the GOP, in my opinion, should not compromise at all, right? It should be all or nothing, because they have the leverage at this point to say is all or nothing, right? Biden, I think he loses more in regards to the moderate vote. If he continues to allow the border to be open, then he would lose from the so-called progressive vote for simply, working with the GOP. And that's why I said that I think personally that the GOP has enough leverage that they should not compromise at all. There should be no compromise. It should be no compromise. Anything short of sending the military to the border, finishing the border wall with all the security, all the enhancements that we need to make sure that illegal immigrants just can't get in. We also need mass deportations. Okay, we need to severely limit and slow down the amount of amnesty applicants that we are taking. Okay, we also need to work with these other foreign countries to make sure that they're not just allowed to just allow, people to go through their countries and come to the United States without severe and harsh penalties for doing so. Okay, we also need to make sure that the people that are waiting to try to come into the country are waiting in other countries, not here. Okay, we don't have to handle them. They can be handled in some other country. These are all things that we need, right? And the GOP has all the leverage in the world to not compromise, right? You don't need to compromise at all, right? I don't want to see anything about we're going to have more funding for processing more people to come in that are claiming amnesty. No. We can't do any of that anymore, right? Anything short of securing the border, mobilizing the military, and mass deportations is a failure because they have all the leverage in the world right now. Okay, all the leverage in the world. Make Biden go with the most conservative solution possible, and then you campaign on it going into 2024, right? As a Republican, we made Biden secure the border, right? But again, we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. I would not have my hopes up for the GOP to actually, negotiate and come out with a good deal that's actually going to secure the border enough. Okay, they might, agree to cut it by 1 million people coming in or something like that. They might agree to do that, but I don't think they're going to go all the way. However, we'll see. Until then, the Democrats, instead of actually discussing the issue, mainstream liberal media as well too, instead of actually discussing the issue and educating viewers, they want to dumb down the conversation and just cry hate and bigotry with anything that Trump says or with the GOP's policies or proposals when it comes to the border. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.